Welcome to EQ Unlocked, a podcast about emotional intelligence, awareness, and intentional living. This is a space for grounded, honest conversations about how life experiences shape our emotions and how developing emotional intelligence helps us better understand ourselves and the people around us. EQ Unlocked isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about understanding what's been learned, creating safety within yourself, and choosing how you show up, especially in difficult moments and relationships. Here, growth comes from awareness, responsibility, and practice, not perfection. If you're ready to slow down, reflect, and build deeper understanding in yourself and your connections with others, you're in the right place. Let's unlock it.
So, good day, my friends. Good day. You know, today is a very special episode. Um, we're going to call this one Healing Without Pressure, a conversation for victors. Um, this episode is for victors over sexual abuse. Um, you don't need to relive anything to listen. You don't need to agree with everything I say, and you are certainly free to stop at any given time. I want to be clear, this is not going to be a graphic episode. This is definitely not replacing therapy. This is simply about support, understanding, and emotional safety. Um, what happened to us was not our fault. Our reactions make sense, and healing is not something you owe anyone um, except for yourself. And so I think it's important that we talk about the impact of sexual abuse. Um, Trauma can show up like as hypervigilance. It can show up as numbing or disassociation, uh, difficulty trusting, mood swings or emotional swings rather, um, shame that doesn't belong to us. Uh, Trauma isn't is not a character flaw. Uh, Long story short, it's the nervous system doing its best to survive. And so, what got me on this kick is I was actually watching a little. mm, I was watching some YouTube videos, and those YouTube videos were talking about the Epstein files. They were talking about the whole situation with Diddy, and it got me in my mind and my heart and my feelings. And not because of the sexual abuse that took place, but because of the fact that we're so much attention is going to these powerful people who exploited and used and manipulated and abused those without power. And so um, I think for me personally, as I watched these videos, what came to me is it's time to empower the victors. It's time to empower the survivors. It's time to empower the people who went through that experience. And and I asked the question of, well, why aren't we empowering these people? And I realized that I was just as much to blame as anybody else by sitting there watching those videos and not doing my best to empower. And so that's where this episode is coming from. As survivors, we often blame ourselves. We we freeze and we offer compliance responses. Uh, we our survival instincts take over versus choice, and our brains consequently uh, prioritizes safety over logic. The problem is that our brain can't recognize what's really putting our safety at risk versus what we lived through before. Not always. And so survival responses. They aren't consent. They're biology. And so, I look back at my life and I look back at the things I tolerate and the things I put up with, and I realized that a lot of those were just survival responses. They were survival responses. Even when I was fighting with other folks, it was about survival. It wasn't about a cognitive choice. It was just my nervous system's way of making it through what it should have never had to experience. And so I'm going to tell you this right now, that if you're a survivor and you're listening to this, or maybe you're not a survivor, maybe you're just a friend of a survivor, and I promise you that you are a friend of a survivor, even if they've never shared it with you. Maybe you can share this with them. And I've said it a million times, and I'll probably say it a million times more. But to all of us who had to be strong when we should have been protected, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry that you had to be strong when you should have been protected. Because everybody I watched in those videos, every survivor I watched in those videos, they should have been protected. And although can't protect you in the past, I can certainly empower you now. And so, as a survivor, what did emotional intelligence mean for me? And what might it mean for you? I think it's important to remind yourself that emotional intelligence is not about controlling our emotions. There might be days where you get triggered and you just want to cry, or days when you get triggered and you just have to walk away from something, or maybe you see something and it doesn't make any sense and it's just too much for you to handle. And so that doesn't mean you're not emotionally intelligent. Actually, that's, in my opinion, the start of that emotional intelligence, because you're now aware of, oh, hey, I don't like the way this makes me feel. I may not be able to put my finger on exactly why I don't like this, but I don't like this. It doesn't feel right. And then you make a decision based on that feeling. That is, in fact, emotional intelligence, because you are now aware. Emotional intelligence is understanding what your body and your mind learned. You know, um, it's learning that, I'm 44 years old and I am just learning, and I do mean just learning, folks, within like the last 6 months, that my body is under my control. I get to choose. I get to choose what I do with my body. I get to choose how to do it. I get to choose how my body moves, how it functions. Well, and you know what I mean by functions, how I use it, right? Emotional intelligence, it restores choices, not just in the physical body, but in our lives. It's not about obligation, it's about choice. And for some of us, choice for the first time. So just keep in mind as you're going through this process that healing is not about being calm. It's about becoming safe inside your own body, inside your own mind, inside your own world. That's what healing is all about. Healing is not about forgiving when you before you're ready. It's not about just letting it go. It's not about being positive all the time. It's not about moving on for others' comfort. Healing is learning to feel without being overwhelmed. Healing is choosing when and how to engage. Healing is reclaiming agency over your own life. It's setting boundaries without guilt. It's taking up space. It's knowing your worth. That's what healing is all about. And you, my friends, you deserve to be empowered. And that empowerment might look different. Actually, it does look different for everybody. That empowerment might be saying, you know what? I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. It might be saying, you know what? I want to sleep by myself for a little while. Healing might be, you know what? I just don't touch me. I don't want to be hugged right now. That's empowering. That's healing. That's your voice. That's your choice. You get that. You get that right. Right? You get that right, and it's a beautiful right to have. And so I want to talk about what it looks like to support survivors. Just if you're going to support a survivor, the some of the things that help is just listening without trying to fix it. I can tell you that in my own experience, so I was 28 when my repressed memories came back. 28, and there was a lot of abuse from 2 to uh 16, somewhere in there, maybe even 17, 18. I don't really exactly recall when that last abusive relationship stopped. Um, but I had a lot of people to support me, and not one time did anybody ask me, well, why didn't you, or at least at least you weren't. I don't even know what situation could be, what they would compare it to that would be worse. But nobody rushed my healing, and honestly, I think that's why I healed the way I did. When it comes to the sexual abuse I healed from, um, it took me about 5 years. Took me about 5 years. When comparatively speaking, it took me about 5 years to heal from it. But I was actually abused for I mean, probably close to 15 years. And so I wasn't rushed. And you shouldn't be rushed either. And if you don't have people around you who are supportive like that, find some. Because I promise you, there's a lot of people in a very similar position to you, even if you don't think so. And to the people supporting those who are surviving, those who are overcoming the traumas, uh, you might want to get some support for yourself too, because it's not easy. It's not easy. As you're talking to your loved one who's surviving, listen without trying to fix it. You're not gonna fix it. You can't rush this healing. It doesn't happen like that. It will happen when they choose to heal. As their bodies become safe and feel safe, they will become more regulated and life will become more of what they deserve to have. Your job is to be patient. Is to believe without questioning. Is to respect boundaries. So if that person you love says, "Hey, I don't want to be touched right now," respect that. Or if there's something that you don't understand that they ask you not to do, respect that. For me, one of the big things that it really took me forever to understand was the sound of somebody chewing gum. I absolutely hated, abhorred the sound of people chewing gum. And it took me years to figure out why that was. And the reason why that was is because one of the first sounds I heard after being molested was somebody chewing gum. Do you know how common chewing gum is? So for years, I was being triggered by this sound that I couldn't even understand. And so if somebody's asking you, hey, please don't do this thing around me, respect that. As a matter of fact, you might even want to go a little bit further and ask, is there anything I can do that or stop doing that's really bothering you? You know, it's really important to empower the people who went through what they went through. It's really important to empower them. And that's why I wanted to make this episode. Matter of fact, I was sitting here and I had no desire. I had no plans to create this interview. Or not this interview, excuse me, this episode. But I realized the need to create this episode. And I realized that the longer I delayed on creating this interview or this podcast, excuse me, the longer I was delaying helping the people and empowering the people who needed to be empowered the most. So, while you're watching all this stuff about Epstein files and, the whole Diddy saga or whatever, remember that there are real people, real lives that are taking place right now who were impacted by those men's behaviors. And I don't care how rich you are, I don't care how much money you made off of the abuse that you endured, it was still abuse. And so your voice coming out is really, really important. I know it's scary. I know that it's much easier not to talk about these things. I get it. And in my podcast, in future episodes, I'm going to go into some pretty deep stuff too. Now, I have all that timed out and scheduled and planned, so it doesn't make me sound like a madman, but the truth is, this is there and it's waiting. It's just a matter of time. And I'm going to go into some dark stuff, and I'm going to go into some powerful people who hurt me. And I'm going to go into how I reclaim my voice. And I'm going to go into how emotional intelligence helped me to do that. With a level of clarity, with a level of awareness. And so I'm going to end with this. If this episode stirs something inside you, you're not broken. And you don't have to carry it alone. There's support out there that exists for you. Whether it be me, whether it be my podcast, whether it be a million other podcasts, it does not matter. You are supported. You are loved. And if you need somebody to stand with you or talk to you or whatever the case might be, and reach out. Reach out because I'm here. And I'm not here to exploit your story. I'm not here to share your story. I'm here to give you a voice. I'm here to help you know that your voice is valuable and your voice is much more powerful than the people who try to take your power. And it is all up to you. The pace at which you do it, it's all yours. And so again, I'll retouch this subject. If this episode stirred something within inside you, you're not broken. You don't have to carry it alone. Support exists. And the only person whose pace matters is yours. If you're able and you choose to, reach out to a trusted professional or a support resource. Have a beautiful day, y'all.
As this episode comes to a close, take a moment to notice what stood out for you. Emotional intelligence isn't about having all the answers. It's about building awareness, understanding yourself and the people around you, and choosing how you respond, especially when things feel difficult. Growth happens through reflection and practice, not pressure or perfection. If this conversation supported you, consider sharing it with someone who may benefit from it as well. To explore more tools and resources around emotional intelligence and personal development, connect with EQ Unlocked and Knowles. Until next time, remember, better awareness leads to better choices, and better choices lead to a better life. This is EQ Unlocked.